All right, I got us. All right. So, sorry about that, Charles.
No, no.
I'm still kind of familiarizing myself with it as well.
Oh, no, no. I've been
Uh,
wanting to go to webinar for years, so if I can.
you know what? I haven't. That's the only one I haven't tried actually. Ironically.
Well, I got grandfathered in, so it's just the one I've had ever since I got started.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. Okay, everybody. Hello, guys. This is Rachel Youngson from useplr.com. I am here today talking with Charles Terrence Harper. He is going to teach us how to use PLR in our offline strategies. We're also going to go over his wonderful Facebook group called PLR Show. So stay tuned. We're going to drop a link in the chat box for that. And we also have a free gift from Charles so that you can learn a little bit more about him and his style. And that link is also in the chat box. So Charles, thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. I know that I'm really excited. I know I have had a lot of people who've been emailing me and such, and they've been really excited. And in fact, one of your students, Dana
Oh yeah,
Castle,
yeah, yeah.
she actually said, "I think I know what Charles is going to say, but I'm going to come anyway to support."
No, that's cool.
so, so you have a good fan base here.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Rachel. All right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I'm Charles Harper. I think you can see my screen, and just briefly, I've been in online marketing since 2009. When I unceremoniously left my job at a boarding school, my wife and I, and then we were just kind of out on our own. So pretty much everything there is to try and fail at in internet marketing, I've already tried and failed at, and PLR was just where I landed, and it came out of my background, right? So I have always created videos. Probably since I got started. And then at some point I said I might as well just kind of just stick to what I know. So that's a little bit of background. What I want to talk about today is just kind of taking PLR offline. And because and there's a reason for that, right? I mean, how many of you have kind of felt like you're kind of fighting it out with in a really competitive market, and it really is competitive online, whether or not you're selling PLR or even if you are taking it and redoing it. I mean, it's really competitive. And so one of the things that I have found, I stumbled onto, I wish I could say I was brilliant enough that I came onto this because I was smart enough. I stumbled onto this, that the market offline, where people are not really aware of the things that are going on in JVZoo, Warrior Plus, all those areas, is not only it's less competitive, it's friendlier, and people trust you more. So I want to talk about that, because if you've had any uh, if you've had any experience where it's just kind of feeling like, you know what, you're hitting your head up against the wall in terms of being able to sustain something, whether it's building a list or being able to generate profit or starting to build what they call the 1,000 true fans, I want you to kind of open your mind to this and just kind of think about this, and this may be for you. Okay, so let's talk about why I think there's an opportunity for people like us who are information marketers.
Hey,
So,
Charles, before we go, I'm sorry to interrupt
yeah, yeah,
you.
uh-huh.
Before we go any further, can everybody hear Charles okay? I've gotten
Oh,
a
you
few,
can't? Okay, you can't
I've
hear me?
gotten a couple of people say that there's like fluctuation between you and I think I'm like roaring.
Oh my.
But so if you guys can just put in the chat box if you can hear us okay. And again, Charles, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, no worries. Let me see if there's something I can do on my end. Let's see. I'll maybe I'll get out of Skype also. Skype is kind of flaky these days.
Oh my gosh, right? It's yeah, I have the same issue.
Okay, so I've done a few things on my end, and if I'm the cause, hopefully those things will kind of eliminate some of the problem.
All right. So we are going to, if we have any more issues, then just let us know, guys. But we've got him for an hour. So please share your goodness with us, Charles.
Okay. All right, good. Okay, so um, And let me see if I can turn my own volume up too. Okay, my volume is low. How about now? How's the volume now? I can see the chat now. So is the volume better? Okay, everybody?
Much better. Okay, great.
Excellent. Okay, very good. Um, okay, so why do I think there's opportunity for information marketers like us? Because people are still looking online for information. And basically, people are still willing to purchase some kinds of information. What's the evidence of that? Well, people still buy Kindle books, they still buy magazines, they still go to seminars, they still go to webinars, and they sometimes they'll even go live. And so people are still looking for information. Um, and the fact of the matter is, if you go to any local website, go to your local news or go to your local newspaper, um, instantly you're going to be turned off more than likely, especially as just an online marketer. But even if you weren't, all the advertising that they're putting on that site, they're doing it because they can't figure out how to make money in an information business, right? News is information. People are still looking for it. They've got these huge newsrooms full of people, and they've got to figure out, well, how am I going to make money, or how am I going to pay for all these people? And they're allowing all this advertising to turn a profit. And what happens is they're really turning off the very people that they need to be on that site. Um, and what these organizations are just discovering is what you and I already know. People are still paying for information, right? I pay $32 a month for the Wall Street Journal because I want the information, right? They seem like they're the only ones that have figured out, or one of the only ones that figure out how to develop a niche market and how to develop a place where people will go and pay for information month after month. And pretty much you and I can do the same thing. The economics for information-based companies, when you have one or two people, it really only works for a small organization now. It no longer works for big newsrooms. People still want the information, but the economics work if you're willing to be one person army of one. And that's what you and I know how to do. We have what people want. We already have content. We know how to put it in forms that people want. Now what we have to do is we've got to get it in front of people who want it. One of the things I was listening to a radio program just the other day, and guess what the two lowest rated professions are right now? People took surveys. Number one, local reporter, mainly because they're working long hours and they're not making a lot of money. Number two, a local DJ. Two of the areas where you and I can excel in because you and I have information. And just kind of stick with me because you're going to see this here in a minute. I believe that the opportunity for us information marketers is local, right? I don't think that it's exclusively online. I don't think that it's exclusively in the business that we're in, JVZoo, Warrior Plus, and all these other places. I think that there's more for us if we're willing to expand our market. Um, Here's why. One of the reasons I think so, right? If I were to call you and my area code was the same as yours, there's almost instantly a degree of trust in inherent in that. If I send you a piece of mail, I'm not saying that you're going to be sending direct mail, but just the fact that you get direct mail and it has your same zip code or zip code you're familiar in, it automatically gives you a bit of trust. Local is still where people want to be, and it's where they want to get their stuff. Um, we're willing to still go physically see somebody if they're local. Education still brings people out of their homes to a physical location, right? It still does. And whether we partner with big organizations and teach them how to do this, or we find our own audience, we can monetize the ability to deliver content locally. And the fact of the matter is, I don't care how much you think you know or don't know, you already have enough information. You already have enough knowledge. If you know how to set up an autoresponder, you have enough knowledge to do this locally. You already do. If you know how to turn a Word document into a PDF, you already know enough. If you know how to turn a PowerPoint presentation into a PDF. So I'm not going to tell you about the technical aspect. That's typically what I talk about, right? When I do stuff in our PLR show group, I typically go over technical stuff. I typically work on video PLR, but I don't want to talk to you about that tonight because I just want you to be open to the idea that all of the fighting, I mean, that you're doing for market space, all the fighting that you're doing to build a list, all of the let's say of the social media hog tie-in that you're trying to do to get somebody into your marketing funnel, all that same stuff works in your local area. All that same stuff works offline, and it works easier. Now, when I say offline, people get turned off, right? So I don't want you to get turned off from that, and because I'm not asking you to consult, right? But let's talk about what it means to consult. Consulting doesn't have to mean that you're going to get somebody into Google Places, right? So I'm not talking about that kind of consulting. I'm not talking about getting them ranked in search. So if you don't want to be bothered with that stuff, I don't want to either, right? So I'm not talking about that. I'm also not talking about trying to build a social media presence. Now, I know a lot of people still do that, and everybody's a social media ninja. You don't have to fight in that space, right? I'm not talking about you doing that and trying to be a social media guru. And again, nothing wrong with that, right? But if you think that what I'm telling you to do with your PLR is to go be that, that's not what I'm saying. It can mean that you know how to show that you show people, small businesses, or even people who are army of one, people like us, how to do the fundamentals, right? Most people don't understand the fundamentals of marketing. It really is true. And I can't even say I fully understood it when I first got started. And I can't even say I fully understood it well into doing internet marketing. And there's some fundamentals we all have to understand. Number one, um, whether or not you teach somebody how to do it, whether or not you do it yourself, whether or not you show someone how to do it, or you work with someone to get them to do it, they have to have a USP. In other words, what is it that brings me to somebody? And I just talked about this last night. It's kind of fresh on my mind. Um, what is it that you have that somebody else doesn't have, right? Why should I come get your information? Why should I get it from you? Let's say that you and I get the same PLR. What are you going to do to it that makes me want to get the same information from you and then go get it from somebody else too? I mean, you and I have, let's say, I'd say I have 10 copywriting books. And probably in those 10 copywriting books, it's all the same information, but everybody says it in a way that I want it from them. You've got to do the same thing. I've got to do the same thing. We have to have a USP. And if you're teaching people, right, if you're coaching people, you have to coach people to develop their USP. It doesn't even matter whether or not they have a Facebook page, they don't have a USP. Right? I'm serious. Talking about building a list and you don't have a USP, listen, you can get 1 million people onto your list. No USP, there's no reason for them to keep listening to it, to you or I. So we have to, right? You have to, I have to develop, cultivate, emphasize a USP. And if you're teaching and you're coaching people, please start telling people before they get further down the line, trying to get ranked in search, all that stuff, get a USP. They need to build a sales funnel. So in other words, funny thing, when you get your first sale and your second sale, and I remember when it happened, I mean, it was really cool. And then you start looking for the second one and it doesn't come. And one of the reasons why it doesn't come sometimes is we've got to learn how to be effective in building a sales funnel, right? And that's just, and again, I'm preaching to the choir here. I know you already know that. You need to have an upsell, but you need to have a sales funnel, number one, that's what I call horizontal, right? So in other words, after I buy your Facebook Ninja course, right? Well, I probably need to have a Twitter Ninja course. I probably need to have your YouTube Ninja course. And so we've got to be willing to go horizontal in addition to what I call vertical. Vertical is what we see every day on JVZoo. In other words, I come to your sales funnel, I buy your front end product, I buy your back end product, and maybe I buy your second upsell, right? That's vertical. It all happens on one point in time, all happens on the same day, all happens at the same time. It goes up, 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 up. But you and I also have to show people how to build a horizontal sales funnel. In other words, what happens after I develop and I fully embrace everything you taught me about Facebook? Well, I need to go to the next level, or I need to go over to the next social platform. So teaching people how to develop these sales funnels that are both horizontal and vertical. Again, these are basics, but again, they're not commonly taught. And if you go in and show someone how to do this, right, you can show people how to do this with PLR also. Building a list, right? I mean, most people, you'd be surprised how many people just don't do that one thing, right? People are relying on Facebook pages and all this other stuff. I mean, look, I mean, it's fine, but um, I read a statistic that all of the social media combined doesn't do what email does, even still, right? So people have been talking about the death of email, all this other stuff. Listen, hasn't happened yet. People still reading their emails. And so you and I, if you're teaching anybody, you've got to teach people that. And if you and I have to do that on a regular basis. Building joint ventures, right? I mean, that's something that you and I have to be able to do. And we've got to teach people media marketing. Now, again, I'm not talking about Facebook ads, but I'm talking about being savvy with getting the media to cover you. And it's not as hard as you think, right? The media really wants a personalized story, and they're looking for a poster child of that story. And they don't want you to be the object. They want you to be the facilitator, right? And I've talked about that a number of times, and it's beyond the scope of this talk, but really media marketing is possible if you understand that basic premise. In other words, they're looking for a poster child of a situation that is a personal story. That's what they're looking for. Number 6, branding is community activity in local area, and internet marketing comes last, right? After all of that, then you can start talking about social media. Then you can start talking about all the other stuff. But if you're doing these other 6 things and you're doing them offline, or you're showing somebody how to do these things offline, you don't have to be all about Google Places. You don't have to be about getting people ranked in search. You don't have to be all about social media. These are things that you can take PLR and teach people how to do. They'll be grateful for it, and you'll really be showing them how to market. Now, when I start talking about offline, now I know I've been talking about, you know, how you teach people offline, but what about you going offline? What about you taking your information? What if you're a weight loss person? What if you are an essential oils person? What if you are into natural health? Can you take your business offline? And absolutely, you should be. Um, all of these things are fundamentals. In addition to Google Places, Amazon, Walmart, Google. I mean, all those are places you and I need to be. Right? All those are places that you and I need to have our information for sale. And again, I'm not going to go over that right now, but there are ways that we can have all of our information there. Um, um, the likelihood of them favoring over small business is high. I want to skip through this. I want to get to this because I know I'm running out of time, because I want to get to the point of this, right? I want to get to the point of this. And because I don't have time to cover everything I want. I will come back and cover it. Okay, let me get to the point of this. The point of this is, the key piece of this is that you and I need to turn our PLR into a regular workshop, right? And that is really the crux to how you're going to take your PLR offline. And what I mean by regular workshop is you're basically just going to set up to be an expert in one area that you know people want, that are buying information, and you're going to teach them on a regular basis. And you build your list organically. In other words, this is the same thing that used to be in the newspaper. This is the same thing that used to be in your local magazine, where people are talking about, it used to be the lifestyle section maybe, or the sports section, or the business section. And these newspapers no longer have the staff, nor do they have the heart to want to cover these things, but people still want the information. And if you can cover the information in one aspect and build up an organic list of people who will come to see you on a regular basis, you can monetize a workshop with the same PLR that you're selling for $7 or $8 or $15 or $27 online, fighting it out, fighting it out with all the sharks in the water, right? What I'm saying to you is that you can be a big fish in a little pond, you can charge more, and you can be well liked. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's talk about what you can do in a workshop. Let's say that if I came to your workshop, I want to talk about how you're going to monetize this. Let's say that you're doing essential oils, right? And you're doing a workshop. What can you do? You ought to have a Kindle or Create Space book. And again, I'm pretty sure Rachel has covered that, how you turn your PLR into a Kindle or Create Space book. That ought to be easy for you. You ought to have one. Even if you don't take your PLR offline, and you don't have one of those, like I said, I'm sure Rachel's got something. You ought to get something on it. Get something and turn it into Kindle. You ought to have a front-end information product, right? Something with a sales page. It does not take a lot of work. I'm sure you already have that. If you've been involved in PLR, you need to have something that people can come to a website and buy. Somebody starts talking to you, they want to take up your time. They want to start talking to you. Well, hey, well, how do I get this essential oil to, yeah, stop, I want to stop having toothaches, right? Well, okay, fine. You know what? I can't cover that right now, but hey, you know what? I've got this product on my site. All you got to do is go over here. It's at super duper doubleLooper.com / essential oils. It'll tell you all about toothaches. Listen, this stuff is really easy offline. And instead of giving away information, instead of, standing around talking to people, trying to convince them that, you're right, just tell them where to go get it on your site. But again, all this is easy when you have PLR. You should have a front-end information product, right? And for you and I as information marketers, there's no excuse not to have a Kindle book, number one. Number two, there's no excuse for us not to have a front-end information product. If that's something that you do not have right now today, right, get something from Rachel that'll show you how to take something you have and turn it into an information product, put it up on your website for sale, stick a buy button on it today. Right? If you don't do anything else as a result of today, do that. Do those two things. Now, I'm talking about a potential workshop product line, but these are two things you ought to have anyway. Your home study course is the next level up. So in other words, I bought your front-end information product. You showed me how to cure myself with some essential oils. Now I want to go deeper. So now you need to take me deeper, and then you need to charge more for it, but you need to take me deeper into what these things do, how I can cure more of myself. Right, and I'm just using essential oils as an example. I have no idea. I have no idea what essential oils do, but I'm just saying it as an example. A home study course, right? A home study course is one step up. You then move people to a monthly membership. Now, what is that? All that is that you're getting, right? You're getting that means that you've gone to get every piece of content there is on the market on essential oils. You've bought it all, right? And if you haven't developed a niche, you haven't developed USP, again, you and I, we have to do that. And then you've got to go get everything there is to get on a subject, right? Instead of buying everything on everything, instead of buying some stuff on everything, buy everything on one thing, right? And then when you start talking about a monthly membership, it's not overwhelming. In other words, man, I've got content coming out the ears on this one subject. That's what you ought to be able to say, because again, whether or not you choose to go into your local market, you need to be an army of one on one thing. When you finally, this is a big secret that I'm not sure that I learned, and something I stumbled onto. If you think you have shiny object syndrome, if you think you have information overload, then your problem is not that you are less than anybody, and you don't even have a syndrome. Your problem is that you have not narrowed down into one thing. That's all you did. That'll cure you. Soon as you decide what you're, and now here's the thing. Now, it takes courage to plant your flag, because as soon as you say, you know what, I got to do this one thing, that means you give up all these other ways that you've been working on to try to make money. Right now, if you're making a little bit here and a little bit there on everything, it takes courage to say, you know what, I'm going to plant my flag. I'm going to be the man. I'm going to be the woman on this one thing. And then you drive your business on that subject. You develop your USP, and then you buy everything there is to buy. And what happens is you're going to stop listening to people start talking to you about CPA marketing, and what you're going to do, you're going to stop listening. Right? People start talking to you about software, you're going to stop listening. People start talking to you about, how to build a membership. If it has nothing to do with your business, it doesn't mean anything to you anymore. It's not that it's not great product. It's not that it's not great information. It's not that it's not going to change your business. It's just that, you know what, I don't have time because I'm focused on one thing. That is, you know what, that will cure a lot of ailments that you and I might have, especially if you think you have shiny object syndrome or information overload. Now, develop your group coaching. Now, if you've got all the PLR, if you've got all the PLR on essential oils, group coaching is easy, right? It's easy. It's easy. And basically you're just picking the best stuff and putting it together in a way to help people. And all you're doing is repurposing and giving people what they're really asking for. Individual coaching. Again, that comes out of your group coaching, because as soon as you do group coaching, somebody's going to approach you and they're going to say, you know what? Can I talk to you? Can I talk to you some more? And you're going to say, no, I only meet once a week, but If you want me to meet you for an hour, every week, this is what it's going to cost you. But individual coaching is probably not going to happen until you do group coaching. And let me just kind of give you just a baseline, right? So a baseline. I don't care how measly you think you're, I don't care how bad you think you are. Do not charge less than $250 an hour for your time, period. I don't care who you are, whatever you know, just start there, right? Now you can go up from there, but don't charge less from that, because number one, if you charge less from that, you start charging less than $250 an hour, here's what's going to happen. The person's going to take up your time and you're going to start resenting them, and you're not going to do so good of a job at it. So again, I just want to set that as a rule of thumb, right? Don't charge less than $250 an hour. If you don't feel like you can charge that, you got to build yourself up until you can, right? But individual coaching will come when you start doing group coaching, because somebody's going to want more of your time, and you ought to give it to them, but you have to put the stuff in place. You have to get the content. You have to have the goods, right? So if you're buying stuff right now and you're buying content, start thinking about who you want to be in the market. Start thinking who are you going to be, right? What are you going to cover? What are you going to focus on? And get everything, right? You ought to be the one person in the market that has everything on. If you're going to talk about marketing strategy or marketing automation, you ought to have everything. If you're going to be the person that's going to talk about Facebook Messenger bots, you ought to have everything on Facebook Messenger bots. Should you have everything on YouTube marketing then? No, right? You don't need it. You're trying to be the man, you're trying to be the woman on Facebook marketing. So in other words, okay, so what about monetizing the workshop? You need to set these things up ahead of time. So again, get these things on the sales pages, right? Get it into a form where they're sellable. And this is really important offline. You'd be surprised how well this works. Set up an affiliate program. And you might not be able to do JV Zoo Warrior Plus if you're going to have affiliate program offline, because you don't want to put these people in the JV Zoo Warrior Plus, and then all of a sudden they start getting emails, product of the day, and all that stuff, right? That's not what I'm talking about. So you're going to have to do a little more work to put together an affiliate program, but it is possible. There are plugins out there. There's ThriveCard. There's all kinds of stuff. But when you start getting serious about this, and you go to somebody and you say, hey, you know what? You send somebody to my workshop, I'll pay you half. Folks, people offline, they've never heard of this stuff. They have no idea. You say, wait a minute. You mean if I send somebody to your workshop, your $97 workshop, you're going to give me $47? Seriously? And say, yeah, I'll give you $47 if you send somebody from your networking group to my workshop. I'll pay you for it, and you won't have to do anything. You get paid automatically. These people will go out of their mind, right? So again, all this stuff that you're doing online, it works extremely well offline. Okay, test different offers and price points, but if you're doing a local workshop, you're going to have plenty of time to do this, because again, you're meeting weekly, right? And again, I haven't gotten to this, but you should be meeting weekly in your workshop. And you're not in a rush when you're doing a workshop. You're there to teach. You're there to teach, and you're saying, hey, by the way, look at this really cool stuff that I have. Okay, now, let me fly through a little bit more of this stuff. Let's talk about delivering your information products. I'm going to suggest you use, now I used to suggest you use CreateSpace. I think Kunaki is a better way to do it. Right? Kunaki will allow you to create it'll allow you to create as few as you want, but you can create a few CDs and have them shipped to your house, right? And walk into your workshop, set them up on the table. I mean, it's all a part of, just having them there. And you're going to need to have a swiper, right? So I think PayPal has a swiper now for $59. You can have people swipe their card. They can do, what is it? They can do Apple Pay, they can do credit cards, they can do PayPal, all that in one thing. I think it's $59. You stick it inside your iPhone, and you can take payments on the spot, go straight to your PayPal account, right? So in other words, you're doing a workshop, and people like to take some of you home. They like to take something home. They like to feel like, hey, you know what? This is really cool. Can I go buy something? And you ought to have something. And guess what? You don't have to sell a PLR product that you bought for $7. Here's the secret: at $7. you can sell it at 37, right? You can sell it at 47. You could sell it at 50. I mean, it's really cool. you can sell it because people still want the information. And here's what's going to blow your mind when you do this. The same information that you think is not worth is not worth a lot because of how we value it online amongst information marketers, people in the real world value information, folks. Now, again, when you get PLR, now you know what you got to do. You got to make it into good. You got to make sure all of the references are right. You got to make sure it's up to date. You got to make sure it's solid information. I'm assuming you're doing that. I'm assuming you know how to do that. But if you know you've got a good product, don't you dare sell that for $7 or $17, especially offline. You slap a cover on it. You put it together nicely. You put it in a CD. You give people access to it online. Put that price up at $37, $47, $57, right? Don't even blink about it. And if nobody buys it, if let's say you go to this thing and somebody says, "Oh man, $37, that's a lot of money." Don't even worry about it, because you can always come at the end of the year and say, you know what, we're going to do a sale, and those same people who were balking, they're going to come to your sale price, right? So again, set your price, set it high, and continue to deliver solid information in your workshop. Okay, let me go. Okay, so where should you have your workshop? Okay, check with your Chamber of Commerce first, right? Sometimes they have space. If they don't have space, they'll be able to recommend places for you. Check with the local colleges and universities. They're often willing to do what they call continuing education, and they will give you space if you will teach, and they will advertise your workshop. I've had that happen, right? So sometimes if you just go to them and find out if they've got a continuing ed component, right? They like to do these things. Some cases, you can join a local networking group. I've been part of BNI. I don't know if you all have been part of that. I've been part of PRE. And then they can also find venues. And sometimes people have space for you also there too. I've never done this personally, but I know someone who has. They've arranged a bar. They've done barter with a restaurant, right? And they promote the restaurant, and in exchange, the restaurant gives them space or gives them a little piece of the restaurant, you know, during off hours. Again, a lot of things are possible when you start doing this stuff. And one thing that I have done is one of the large retailers in our area, right? They wanted additional foot traffic, so they wanted people to teach classes. So I got in, I taught how to do a Kindle book, and guess what I used? PLR. Right, man. I mean, it's seriously, if you, once you open your eyes to the opportunities, right, you'll start to see them, and you'll start to see your PLR differently. Don't just, again, it's perfect for creating information products and then selling them online. I'm not discounting that. What I'm saying is expand, right? Don't stop doing that. Do whatever you're doing, keep doing it, but also look offline. There are people who want the information. Now, this is huge, right? This is huge. And I don't have time to talk about this, but this can turn your whole business model upside down, right? Let's say you're doing a regular workshop, right? Let's say you're doing a regular workshop. Yeah, excuse me, one second, excuse me, I got something.
So while Charles is taking a bit of a break, do you guys kind of see how this all comes together? So let's say that you have some PLR, you take it to your local, you get a space at your local library.
Sorry about that. Amazon.
Yeah, no problem.
Amazon.
I love Amazon deliveries. It's like Christmas.
Oh.
I was just telling everyone while you were away that, how easy it is to take a piece of PLR, go to your local library, hold one of these workshops, and you can, even when you repurpose your PLR, like you can make little checklists and things, and so that you still have that front end product, but you have something free to give them just for showing up. They will have no idea how crazy simple it was for you to create two products from that one product, and they'll think that they're getting something for free. It's really neat.
And people love this stuff. My wife was an extreme couponer for from 2011 to 2013, and so
God bless her. I've always tried to do that. I never succeeded.
And I'm telling, I'm begging, I'm saying, please put this together in a product. So I mean, I think a couple of years back, some of you all may have remembered this extreme couponing PLR. She did some videos and said, okay, thank you. So here's what happened, right? Um, the township, they have this summer program. So she went and teaches this class, right? Taught a class in extreme couponing, $47 a person, $47 a head. Now, you might say, well, that's not a big deal, right? But I think 5 or 6 people showed up. But look, how many $7 sales do you have to make $360? How hard do you have to hustle to make that? Right? That's what this was. This was a workshop that she went and asked, hey, can I teach a workshop on extreme couponing? And so again, the economics are different. They are totally different when you understand them, and that people want the same information. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, but neither is online marketing easy. It's perceived to be, right? And for some people, you might be the kind of person, and you might feel like, when you start talking about writing emails every day, right? Or you're talking about doing webinars, and you might feel like you are a square peg in a round hole, right? You're trying to squeeze into this online marketing space and you just don't fit. For you, this might be for you, right? You might be the kind of person that you like talking to people offline. You like teaching people. You like the contact. And all of this PLR is going to be different for you if you're willing to go offline. Okay, $47 is a great price. Yvonne, you can do it as however you want to do it, right? You can do an all-day workshop. You can do a 3-hour workshop. You can do 5 4-hour workshops weekly. It really is going to be based on how you want to present your information. I did a half-day seminar, right? When I had no idea what I was doing. The very first time I did this, right? I did a half-day seminar, and I did it for, I think I did $77 at a hotel. And these were people that were part of a networking group. And here's what they said. You know what I taught them? I can't even remember what I taught them. Just the first time I did it. And when the people left, you know what they said? Charles, you didn't charge enough. I've never had, and I could not believe that they were telling me this, because I said, well, this was really easy to do. And they're telling me I didn't charge them enough. And $77 and people coming in, I thought I was rich. I know I was rich, but I said, man, these people are crazy. They're paying $77, and it was easy, right? So my point to you is that all this information that you're sitting on, this PLR you are sitting on, is valuable. It may not be valuable if you're trying to sell it on Facebook, right? But it's valuable to people in other venues if you can just get in front of people. Oh, good, Yvonne. Thank you. Okay, so other places. This doesn't work so well. I've never been able to find this, but I have seen rooms. You can go to Craigslist and just look for office space. Please be careful on Craigslist. But public library, sometimes they're kind of funny sometimes about commercial stuff, but they do allow people to do stuff in their public library. Now, my public library that I live close to, they don't want it to be commercial. Now, other public libraries are perfectly fine. They just want a few dollars for it, right? A local church, right? Depending on who you are and what you're presenting. Local movie theaters, right? They don't have anybody there during the day, right? They have nobody there. And they might quote your price. When the local movie theater quotes your price, don't even blink at it. You go right back to them and you say, you know what, here's what I'm willing to pay. Because they don't have anybody. All they're concerned about is, am I going to have to clean up after you? You're willing to clean up after yourself. You're not going to have anything down in there. You can use that local movie theater and you quote them the price you want to pay. Now, also, one of the things that I'm using right now at this moment is what's called co-working space, right? You all have probably heard of that. Now, the co-work space in my local area, one of them is called Startup Harrisburg, costs $275 a month. Now, what they want it for is so that I can have a desk there, I can put my PC there, I can work there, I can network, and I'm not really looking for it for that. I want it for the weekend so I can have the conference room, right? So basically, for $275 a month, I'm going to have a really nice conference room 4 or 5 weekends in a month. You cannot beat that. You can't beat the pricing. So again, I don't have it in my presentation, but if you have an opportunity, take a look at co-working space, because often they will give you the space if you buy the monthly, the monthly charge. Okay. One thing you want to think about is whether or not these guys have wireless access. Now that's the difference between, now I used to do it at the Chamber of Commerce, and the Chamber of Commerce wanted to charge me extra to have wireless access, right? So it's already $50 a session, right, for 2 hours, but they wanted to charge me extra for wireless access. And so I could go buy a hotspot and all that other stuff, but the co-working space has a conference room with with wireless access and all the other stuff, right? So this is some of the stuff you want to ask up front, before you book the room, because sometimes the hotel, if you book a hotel, now they're flexible, but sometimes they don't have wireless. So again, you want to think about whether or not they're going to have wireless access. Now, sometimes you could use you're going to have a whiteboard. Right now, I have one here at the co-working space. I did not have one at the Chamber of Commerce. So again, if I had to do over again, I would always look for a space where I've got a whiteboard, and always ask. And again, this goes back to sponsorship. Always ask T-Mobile, Verizon, all those folks if they're willing to sponsor you by giving you a hotspot. Now, and so I want to kind of round this out now, because with this idea of sponsorship, because again, I know before Amazon came, this is where I was, because I think sponsorship turns a whole business model upside down. So let's say that you're not good at selling, right? How many of you all don't like to sell? I don't, right? So I just don't, I don't like selling. I don't, I like teaching. I don't like selling. And that might be you too. Most people don't. Right? So let's say that you teach your brains out and people love to come to your event because you teach so well. Guess what? Instead of trying to sell to 1,000 customers, how about you just sell to one customer, right? And that's your sponsor. When you can gather an audience on an every week basis, and you know who that audience is. So in other words, you know who's coming to that workshop. Let's say that it's it's a bunch of old dudes, old 40 to 50-year-old dudes, and they're coming on a weekly basis. You know who they are. There's somebody who's willing to pay for that audience, and they will pay you and write you I was going to say write you a check, but people don't write checks anymore. They'll send it to you, right? They're willing to pay for that audience. And what you're focused on then, and your customer then becomes the sponsor. Your customer is no longer the people, it becomes the sponsor. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? So what is your job? Your job is to buy the best content, right? So again, this comes back to, do you have all the best content on one subject, or are you a master of many things? Get all of the best content in one area where you are going to be the man, or you are going to be the woman. And then you deliver that content on a regular basis. And then what you do is you begin to approach people who want those people as their customer. So in other words, let's say that every week I know that there are a bunch of 40 and 50-year-old men coming to meet to talk about whatever I'm talking about. I bet there's somebody who wants to get in front of that audience, right? I bet that there's somebody who would value being my sponsor. What am I going to do? I'm going to say, well, hey, you know what? Here's how you can sponsor me. I'm going to say you can be part of my email. I can send out your thing in an email list. I can give away something on a regular basis with your logo on it or whatever, your information. You can be part of our webinar every week. If you're just a little bit creative, and you don't really even have to be all that bright, you can just be creative. You can put things together that sponsors will want to be a part of, because who do they want? A sponsor is not interested in the nobleness of your mission. They're not interested in the, let's say, the how wonderful and how altruistic your session is. They're not interested in that. You know what they're interested in? They're interested in they're interested in their customers. And if you have their customers, they want your audience. And that turns the whole business model upside down. Now, if you could buy PLR and you were not focused on trying to sell information products, and you could just teach and just be an asset to these people, how many of you all would like that? Now, again, when I say that, when I ask you that, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Right? So I'm not asking you that because I'm trying to sell you, I'm trying to sell you an information product at the end of the day. I'm asking you to just think about it, right? Because if you can entertain an audience, that's what a sponsor wants. That's what a podcast is, right? That's what, if you go to a podcast group right now, you know what the number one thing, their number one problem is? They don't know how to monetize. They're trying to figure out, well, how do I monetize this? Where are the sponsors? Well, you know what they're missing? Listen, I'm going to give you the difference between teaching and training, right? Teaching and training. Teaching is what happens on the podcast. Training is what we're doing right now, right? People need to be shown something. They need to be shown how to do something. And that's not what a podcast is. A podcast gives me information. Training is enlightenment, right? A podcast is information, right? So you understand the difference. So in other words, people can be informed, but they also have to be enlightened. They will come back to you to be enlightened. That's where your sponsorship audience comes from. And that is why, if you are good at it, if you're willing to be good at it, and even if you're not good at it, you get the best information on it, and you are enlightening people. In other words, what do I mean by enlightenment? I don't want to just throw these terms around. I'm talking about changing someone's perspective with information. If I just give you the news, what have I done? I haven't changed your perspective on anything. I just told you what's happening, right? And that's valuable to an extent. Okay, it's going to rain today. Something happened with Congress today. Something happened to the state legislature today. I mean, that's cool, right? But guess what? There's other stuff tomorrow, and the information is going to be different tomorrow. And then the information is going to be different after that. But when I enlighten you, if I change your perspective about something, you can't get that tomorrow, right? That's going to be harder for you to get. That takes understanding the why. That takes understanding the depth in something. And that's what you get your PLR to do. You do not want to buy. So here's another thing about buying PLR. And you start talking about the difference between vendors, right? When you buy something, you need to be thinking, okay, you know what? Am I buying from somebody who's going to give me information, or am I buying from somebody who's going to give me enlightenment? Can I take what they're giving me? Can I change somebody? Can I change their perspective? Can I change the way they do something? Can I give them a new perspective? If all they're giving you is information, right, that they got from Google, that's not going to help you. And you don't need to buy from there. You need to buy some stuff that is going to help you to enlighten people. So if you are willing to undertake this model, and you can build a regular audience because you have awesome enlightenment, you will then be able to find sponsors. Now, again, you don't have to be, I mean, there are processes, there are people who can teach you on anything, right? You can go out and you can Google, how to find sponsors, but look, it's basically this. You have a certain kind of audience. You know what does that audience buy? What kind of stuff do they buy? What kind of stuff do they buy when they go home? What kind of stuff do they buy before they get to their workshop? What kind of stuff do they need? Those are going to be the people you want to approach. And all you got to do is tell them, hey, you know what? Every week I get together and I have this group that I meet with, 30 or 40 people, that starts to grow organically. Or you tell them, I have all these people, they read my blog on a regular basis, and here's who they are, right? The workshop really tells you who they are, and you can go to your sponsor with that. So as we kind of round out all this, it's about 1:51. I'll take any questions you might have. That's really all I have. I knew I didn't get through everything, but I'm hopefully you kind of have something that you can kind of expand your market, right? So don't stop what you're doing online. Don't stop any of that stuff. Just think about expanding and going farther and reaching farther offline. So with that, Rachel, I'll turn it back to you.
Oh, great. Thanks, Charles. That's some powerful stuff you were teaching today. Really exciting stuff. So, guys, for those of you who don't know, Charles runs a great Facebook group called the PLR Show, and that is where you can also learn how to use your PLR. And it's, like I said, it's run by Charles. And if you, we've already talked. He'll approve you guys to join his group today, or as soon as he gets a chance. But I'd head over there as soon as I could because there's a lot of great information there. Now, Charles, just to go back a little bit, when we were talking about the Kindle and Create Space, you know, I actually never, I was under the impression, maybe this was from a long, long time ago, that you couldn't use PLR in the Kindle space. And so I guess I just pushed it out of my mind completely. I never honestly revisited that possibility of using PLR to create your Kindle book or your Create Space book, but that's definitely something I'd love to teach my people.
Well, it's gotta be rewritten, obviously, but the ideas and the basis of it, right? I mean, you'd have to. It's like everything else, right? You'd have to massage it and would have to become kind of personalized. But I would not hesitate to put something, and especially, you know, to have something to sell and available that's high quality information, right? So yeah, so your instincts are right. It's got to be rewritten. But again, once it's original, it's fine.
That's amazing. So, guys, I think that we, as a group, should. I'll try to get something together for us as far as turning our PLR into Kindle, and that way, you should build your authorship on Kindle anyway. So that would be a great thing for us to do, I think. Now, as far as the Kunaki, is that Kunaki,
Yep.
Charles?
Kunaki. Yep.
Kuna.
Kunaki. Uh-huh. And basically, boy, when you go to the site, it's bare bones, and it looks like a wasteland. But what you can do is you can basically create a CD or DVD. The content has to be licensed, even though they don't. I mean, they're not gonna. They're gonna assume that you have a license to use it. They're not going to ask you about it, and you can customize the look of the CD. You can customize the look of the of the cover, and you can then buy it at an author rate. So you can order, let's say, 10 of them back to your house, have them shipped there, or you can even drop ship them. But basically, if you were going to do something, you would have 10 CDs printed and you can have them delivered to your house.
That's amazing. That's really, talk about like no hassle. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah, and it's cheap. I mean, Kunaki is cheap. So that's its claim to fame. And if you look at it, it's bare bones website, right? There's like nothing on it, but and I don't know. I don't know. There are no people. I've never talked to anybody from Kunaki, but you send your stuff in and you get it back, and it's on a CD.
Now you also, we have a bit of a special from you today, don't we?
That's right.
That's
That's right.
great. I will drop that link in for you guys. And I'll go ahead and share my screen and get everybody over there because that's just building on everything that we've been covering today. So let me go ahead and take the ownership back from you.
Oh yeah. So basically, what we did was I reopened our Fourth of July sale. And this is only going to be for the people that are in this group. I mean, nobody else is going to know about it because I closed it up, and it's all of our PLR that we recently retired, right? So so again, you'll be able to, let's see, this is, yeah, yeah. So you'll be able to get this, and you'll be able to get it. It's part of our training. And all, you know what? Let's see. Okay, this is our private training, right? Okay, this is our private training. Um, let's see. Yeah, this is our private training. This is our private training. I thought
So,
this was our 4th of July sale, but I'll have to go into a Warrior Plus. Maybe something's not quite directing with the affiliate link, Rachel.
oh, okay. No worries. Then guys, keep an eye on your emails tomorrow because we'll get that squared away.
Yeah, so it's on my end, right? I had a flood this week, so it's just kind of been a little crazy. So
No worries, Charles. It definitely happens. But yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll get that all squared away, guys. And does anyone have any questions for Charles while we still have him here?
yeah, anything on sponsorship or offline or anything like that, yeah, I'm happy to take your questions.
And I mean, remember, guys, this is the unique thing about Charles is that his wife, as he said, she's actually done this. So I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, you know, he's not just talking to this. This is something that his wife has actually done with her extreme couponing. She's actually taken her PLR or created a product, taken it offline. That was my understanding. Is that correct,
Yeah,
Charles?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like the one thing that that I've said to her that actually that actually worked, right? So she had a YouTube channel, and at one point she had a bunch of people who were coming to her and doing all that stuff, and so I said, you know, you really have to just let me help you to turn this into something. And she did it, and it just worked. I can't say anything else. It just worked.
That's really cool. So, what do you guys think? Did you guys have a nice time today? I personally am already thinking that I should try to get Charles back here because he's just so smart. Any more questions? Thank you. Stacy said this
Thanks,
was a great.
Stacy. Thanks, Charlie. Thank you, and thanks for having me, Rachel. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, Charles. I really enjoyed it too. Like I said, it's great that I know that both of our communities are very alike in this sense of
Mhm.
using PLR. So I was really happy to have you here. It's okay, Yvonne. It happens to everybody. She said her keyboard keys are sticking.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that.
So if nobody has anything else for Charles, I will go ahead and let us go. So, all right, guys. So next week we are going to be doing another PLR working hour next Tuesday at 1 Eastern. And then in a couple of weeks, we have someone coming to speak with us about turning our PLR into a food blog. So again, you can find Charles at the PLR show, and that's on Facebook. The link is in the chat. And be sure to get his free gift for you today. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Rachel at useplr.com. All right, Charles, thank you so very much. And we will definitely be having you back.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.